Hello everybody, and welcome to the Instructional Audio in the Learning Environment presentation for EME6507. In this presentation, an overview of instructional audio will be discussed, as well as benefits and drawbacks of audio in the learning environment, various learning tools and instructional strategies for implementing audio, and some common tools for developing instructional audio. Sound is very important for educational multimedia. While there are advantages and drawbacks, sound should be used much more than it currently is, and is oftentimes more useful than other forms of media, such as video. For example, many times in video presentations, the audio component is the important part and the visual aspect is just for show. Sound is a necessary component for many subject areas, such as foreign languages, music, or literacy. Audio is also excellent for gaining a student's attention. Even when a learner's attention is not directed towards a visual display, they can still obtain the audio aspect of the material. Audio is also useful as a tool for guidance. For example, when a learner enters an unfamiliar scenario, using audio to provide directions is very useful. I'm sure you've all had experiences where the textual directions were ignored. Audio can also be used in these scenarios to distinguish between what are directions and what is content. As would be expected, audio is extremely beneficial to poor readers, and this will be discussed in more detail later in the presentation. The use of audio in instruction is very common. About 50% of K-12 students' time is spent listening to either directions or instruction. In college, this number increases to about 90% of in-class time. As a result of this, appropriate encoding and decoding of messages is important. The appropriate encoding of an audio message depends on the sender's skills in organization and presentation of information. For example, the vocabulary level of the message must be within the vocabulary level of the receiver. This will be addressed further in the presentation. Audio has a number of uses in the classroom. First, it is very good at attracting student attention. One primary reason for this is because it works well with visual stimuli. So if done correctly, using audio with still images can actually give the appearance of viewing video. As mentioned previously, audio is also effective for providing directions, as it is useful in distinguishing different types of verbal information. Because audio is good at gaining attention, it can be very useful for providing critical instructions or directions. Dual coding is a theory that states that recall is enhanced by the parallel processing of both verbal and nonverbal information. So, combining audio with some nonverbal media can significantly enhance learning. However, it's important to note that humans are typically poor processors of different verbal material coming from different sources. It is almost impossible for us to understand an audio narrative while reading something different. However, for those that have difficulty with text, an audio accompaniment should be provided. Lastly, it is very common for individuals to use audio either arbitrarily or in a token manner, much as is often done with graphics. Some examples of this include using sound clips to grasp attention, but being unrelated to the actual content or material, and only using audio in portions of a presentation. This inconsistency and lack of relation to the objectives can be detrimental to the learning environment. As with video, user control is critical. The user should be able to manipulate the sound when it is playing. At a minimum, they should be able to start, stop, and pause the video, as well as control the volume level and replay various segments at will. Unlike with video, scanning audio is not as useful, but it may be useful to control jumping to various sections of longer audio presentations. Next, if the volume of the sound is too high or too low, it may be difficult to accurately pick up meaning. For example, if the volume is too high, we might try to shield our ears. Auditory fatigue may occur if a sound is sustained in a monotonous manner. What occurs is that after a while, you hardly notice the sound at all if it's presented in a monotone manner. I'm sure all of you have heard the annoying sounds such as the hum of a household item, and after a while you hardly notice that sound at all. And this can be problematic, particularly in instructional settings. And in the classroom, this gradual tuning out of the sound source greatly diminishes learning. Next, when students have colds or the classroom is noisy, the ability to hear may be physically impaired. And this is important to understand because in cases such as this, other cues related to the content, such as visual cues, need to be provided. It is also important to understand what listening skills your students have. Students must be able to sustain concentration on a given message. They must be able to think ahead while receiving the message, and this time differential can be used to organize and internalize information, which in turn promotes understanding and comprehension. And finally, experiential issues are important to address. As with visual messages, if the learner does not possess the experiential background to comprehend a message, learning does not occur. And this might occur when a complex vocabulary is used or information which the students have little or no background with is being presented. When using standalone audio, there are a number of different file types and formats. While file types will be discussed elsewhere in the course, we will focus on formats here. One common format of using audio in the classroom is via audio tape, at least in the past. Audio tapes are useful for recording in the field, for generating student-created recordings, for individual learning, and as an assessment tool for reading. As technology has increased, we have a number of other processes for creating audio tape type formats in other formats, such as MP3 files or WAV files. Some of these benefits are that they are portable, they are rather durable, and relatively inexpensive and easy to use. However, while with newer formats this is not an issue, with audio tapes the quality is often poor, particularly when compared to the digital audio formats that I'll discuss in a moment. Additionally, audio tapes are very difficult to edit, unlike some of the digital formats. Another format is compact discs, and like audio tapes, these are very durable and provide an added feature of random searches, which is an added benefit when compared to audio tapes. However, compact discs require some initial equipment to create and are more difficult to create locally. These are often used in instructional situations in which sound quality is an issue. As I mentioned, as technology has improved over the years, MP3 and WAV files are gaining acceptance in the classroom and becoming much more ubiquitous. One of the primary benefits of these files is their size, as well as portability, durability, and relative lack of expense and ease of use. They are easily uploaded to the internet and do not take up much space. And additionally, their quality is also very good. MP3 and WAV file types are often used for streaming audio, which means that the audio is sent in bundles, providing an opportunity for the user to listen to the file while waiting for the rest to download. While there are other formats, these are the most common ones that are used in the classroom. While some benefits of audio have already been discussed, here are some additional benefits. First, when compared to other media elements such as video and hypermedia, audio is relatively inexpensive to develop and use in the classroom. Also, it is easy to use and reproduce. There is not a great deal of technical know-how necessary to use audio in the classroom, at least in its most basic forms. Next, audio is easily reproducible. Audio tapes, CDs, and MP3 files can all be duplicated using the same tools that developed it. Audio is also useful for learners that are non-readers. It provides verbal messages for them, enhancing their learning experience. Additionally, audio can provide a stimulating addition or alternative to other media. For example, verbal messages can be presented more dramatically using audio as opposed to using text. Audio is also repeatable and accessible. Learners can go back and repeat and revisit any aspect of the material they wish. Finally, audio is easy to integrate into lessons. Due to the ease of production and changing technology, what was once a rather daunting task has become quite easy. PowerPoint, for example, allows you to record narration as easily as creating a new slide. This feature is also becoming more prevalent in other software applications as well. One example of this is inserting audio comments in Word, and this is in Adobe Acrobat as well. So these tools that were typically created for production of other types of materials, such as Word documents and PDFs, are now integrating audio into their functionality. There are also a number of drawbacks of audio, and they are similar to those of video. For example, while the production of audio is not quite as expensive as video, it can be somewhat expensive to produce, definitely more expensive than text production. Also, it is rather difficult to produce quality audio. Some tips to producing quality audio include rehearsing prior to recording, using good audio equipment, finding an area with good acoustics, being consistent with volume and tonal settings, and using professional speakers. One common use of text is providing a presentation with identical speech and text. While this may seem beneficial, as it would give the user the choice of reading, listening, or both, this can actually be distracting and impair the learning environment. A more beneficial approach would be to provide the learner with control over which method they prefer, such as enabling captions or disabling the audio. Finally, when using audio in some learning situations, attention of the student can wander. While teachers can determine when a student is not paying attention, audiophiles cannot do this, and this can be problematic in certain teaching and learning situations. Below are a number of instructional strategies utilizing audio. One of the fastest growing uses of audio in the classroom is self-paced instruction. This allows accelerated students to increase the rate of instruction while allowing slower students to revisit topics and move at a slower pace. Another common use of audio is pre-recorded audio materials. This is something that might be used in a music or foreign language class and can be used to provide accompaniment to information or to present new material. Audio can also provide accompaniment to text or graphics, such as in a narrated presentation, which you have seen many examples of in this course. Additionally, learning centers or listening stations can be used and are growing rapidly in popularity. These provide audio-enhanced lessons for either individuals or small groups, and are a key component of blended learning environments. Some final instructional strategies or learning tools include audit tutorials, which are audio-based tutorials, talking books, which are narrated books, and oral histories, in which students provide oral autobiographies. Remember, these are only a few examples of the way audio can be integrated into the teaching and learning environment. I look forward to seeing what instructional strategies you implement in your projects. I have provided some examples of lesson plans that integrate audio into the classroom. While there are many issues with these examples, they are but a few examples of ways that audio can be used in lesson plans. Additionally, I have provided a number of resources that provide free audio clips, including sound effects. Click on any of these to view the examples of resources, and these will also be provided in other course materials. I've also provided a number of common tools for creating and editing audio. A couple that I want you to pay particularly close attention to are Audacity, which is a free download, which will also be provided in the course materials, and GarageBand, which is a free tool that comes with Mac. Both of these are more commonly used for simple audio editing and development. So if you are unfamiliar with what tools you want to use for creating audio in the course, I would recommend those two depending on which platform you use. Audacity actually has a platform for Macintosh computers as well, so it's both PC and Mac based. That concludes the audio in the teaching and learning environment presentation for EME6507. Have a great week.